right, welcome back. In this video, we're gonna be talking about one of the spookiest things most people have problems with when getting started. It's talking to sellers, all right? You've done the work, you've sent the mail, you've sent the offers, people are calling. What do we say? I wanna walk you through a simple framework that I use and I teach. Hopefully it helps you be more confident and close more deals on the phone. Okay, right around me, there's a resource you can download. It's our sales script. It's gonna give you a lot of these words and language patterns to go back to. Feel free to have that open on a call. I will say, please don't just read off a script on a call. I'll go into why that's so important in a second, but you need to be genuine, all right? And if you're just pivoting back to a script every time, people are gonna notice it and it's gonna adversely affect you. So the script is a guide. It gives you some questions to ask. It gives you some language patterns. But at the end of the day, your sales skill comes down to reps, okay? If you're not good on the phone, you gotta get better, all right? Eventually you'll outsource that. Eventually you'll have salespeople, but in the beginning, you gotta understand how to be effective on the phone. So that's what this video is for. All right, my goal of this video for you is twofold. One, I wanna give you the confidence, like I just said, to hop on the phone and just own these deals, slay the sellers, be just this God that they need in order to sell their land, okay? I want you to be able to do that confidently. But two, I want you to look out for red flags, okay? Because I have spent thousands of hours, thousands of wasted hours of my life talking to non-motivated sellers, okay? What do I mean? Deals where people weren't motivated, deals where there were immediate red flags, yet I was new and I was green and I want to make every deal work. So I keep working it, keep working it, keep working it. The goal with an effective sales call is to understand if it's a yes or no. Are they motivated or are they not, right? We want to be able to do that quickly because at the end of the day, 9 out of 10 leads are going to say no. So you need to know how in your due diligence and how in your calls you can quickly qualify or disqualify somebody as interested, all right? So there are 3 main phases that I think of in a sales call, okay? You'll hear me say the term sales call and be like, wait, Clint, you're talking about acquisitions? They're the same, all right? The skills and the language patterns, it's sales. At the end of the day, you're trying to get somebody to commit, to take an action based on what you're saying on the phone. That's sales. So if you hear me say that, just keep that in mind. So there's 3 main phases, okay? Phase 1 is the open, right? We have 2 goals. We have 2 goals in the open, all right? It's to diffuse the tension, right? You're calling somebody out of the blue or they may have requested a call back, but it's still kind of an uncomfortable situation. They know you're an investor. They know you're trying to get a deal on the property. It's not their first rodeo, very likely. So there's kind of gonna already be this kind of tension in the air, right? First thing we wanna do is we wanna diffuse the tension and we wanna meet people where they are so they see we're humans, they're humans, and we can have a good conversation together. Okay, the second goal of the open is to determine who we're talking to, all right? I generally characterize it as 2 ends of the spectrum. You got sweet Grandma Betty and you got grumpy Grandpa Frank, okay? If you're talking to sweet Grandma Betty versus talking to old Grandpa Frank, right, your tone needs to be different. We wanna match the tone of who's on the other side of the call, right? Like I like to tell my clients, if you're talking to sweet Grandma Betty, well, you need to be her sweet grandson, all right? You need to talk to her and make her feel good and answer all her questions and hold her hand. Probably a lot more talking, right? If you're talking to grumpy old Grandpa Frank, right? You want to be quick to the point. You want to give him value, right? He wants to feel like his time is not wasted. So you need to identify who that person is. Generally, it's just going to be a combination of what is their tone. You'll feel it through the phone. And then what are their language patterns? Are they quick? How can I help you? What can I do for you? Do you have an offer? Do you have numbers? Or Grandma Betty, oh, so thank you so much for calling. Wow, we get so many letters on this property, right? The 2 different sides, you want to match the tone. Because if Grandma Betty is being talked to stern like her husband, Frank, she's probably not going to want to do deals with you, right? And the same for Frank. If you're talking like her sweet wife that he has enough of, he might not want to deal with you either. So you want to match tone, all right? Second phase of the call, I call it the seeding phase, okay? Simply put, we're gonna ask a few questions about the property. But the goal here is, again, twofold. 1, we really wanna learn about the property, all right? We wanna ask questions. We probably have a few unchecked boxes or things that we would like to learn. As I tell my team, I would much rather you go into a call knowing nothing about the property and just asking the seller questions than trying to do all your digging and figure it out before you get on the phone. right? A quick call will often erase 2 hours of due diligence because they can either answer the question or just tell you that they're not interested, all right? So that is a big goal of the second phase, the seeding phase, is asking questions, okay? When we ask questions, we do a couple things, right? We show that we're professionals, because we know the questions to ask for buying land, and we show that we're seriously interested in buying it. We've looked at the property, we understand it has access issues, we understand it has slope issues. We didn't wait to talk to them to figure any of this out. We came prepared, we did our homework, we're serious, all right? You gotta keep in mind there's a lot of other investors and it's growing every day, right? The people who pick the phone up and do what they say they're gonna do are 9 out of 10 times the people who close deals. I kid you not, I can think of multiple examples where I have had a seller who is holding my contract in their hand and they supposedly have another offer from another seller for thousands. I can even remember a situation where it was $11,000 more than what my offer was. But I had already talked to the person, I built rapport, they trusted me, they knew I was gonna go forward. I explained that a lot of people do this and that may not be a serious offer, right? I've had the chance to connect with them and therefore they went with my offer. Right? Price is really just a construct. It needs to solve their problem, right? It needs to meet them where they are. But at the end of the day, how you connect with the prospect, in my opinion, is what's going to move you from doing a small amount of deals to getting the maximum result from your marketing. Okay, so that's stage 2. It's seeding, it's questions. We'll go through that a little more. And then stage 3 is the close, the pivot to close. All right, really this one's very simple, but my big piece of advice is that you'll want to have some number prepared. If you don't get onto a call and give the person on the other line some number by the end of it, they're gonna feel like you wasted their time and like you didn't do your research. How do I know that? I've been screamed at many times, okay? You wanna have some number prepared. Even if it's not the final number, you wanna have a range prepared, all right? Again, it's gonna make the seller more confident in you. It's gonna give them a baseline price and it's gonna show them that you did your homework, all right? That is what will really seed into a seller trust and desire to work with you. All right, so let's talk a little more in depth about a couple of these phases of the call, all right? I wanna give you a couple language patterns, a couple questions. Hear Clint say it on the video so that you can kind of replicate it and create your own sauce from it, okay? So first off, every time I open a call, I almost always use the same little bit. Here it is, all right? Ring, ring, hello. Hi, this is Clint. Is this Frank? Yes, it is. Hey Frank, this is Clint. You reached out to my company, XYZ Land Company, about selling your property in XYZ County. And they'll say, oh yeah, hey, how are you? You say, great, hey, did I catch you at a good time? I know I kind of called you out of the blue. That's the line, okay? Did I catch you at a good time? I know I kind of called you out of the blue. Or put your own spin on it. What this is gonna do is they're gonna be like, oh yeah, no, this is a good time. It's gonna kind of diffuse a little of that tension of like, who's this random person calling me? And it's gonna give you, they're gonna give you permission to start talking to them, all right? I love to think about sales in this context, is that you want your prospect to give you permission to pitch, all right? If you ask them, is this a good time to talk? And they say yes, they are giving you permission to move on with your pitch, all right? Get to it. And if they say no, you say, oh, I'm sorry, I wanna respect your time. When's a great time to call back? Right? That's how I open, good diffuse, all right? The next thing I generally do, this is gonna be dealer's choice, I like to crack a joke, okay? Because again, we wanna diffuse the tension. One that I find gets a good little chuckle or something 8 out of 10 times is, okay, Frank says, no, this is a good time to talk. Well, great, Frank. First, I just wanna say thank you. 99% of people throw our letters in the trash. I really appreciate you taking the time to give us a call. You'll be like, oh, ha, 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 yeah, no problem. And they may start talking about the property, you may start talking about his family, or who knows, right? But you wanna crack a little joke because you wanna not just become, again, that random investor who's calling. You want them to have literally a little serotonin release inside of them. A million studies will show when somebody releases serotonin when on a phone call, it creates an emotional connection in their brain to you and who you are. And if you do the call right, how you can solve their problem. Okay, so this isn't just like fancy fluffy stuff. This is like real sales applied to land, all right? We wanna diffuse the tension, match the tone, crack a little joke, all right? That's how I generally open the call. Now we're all friends, we're ready to jump into it. Frank's ready to talk. Here's where I go to, all right? So look, at the beginning of the call, I find people feel very respected if you just give it to them straight, all right? Here's how to do that. Well, Frank, thanks for taking the time to chat with me. Look, let me give you a quick 15 seconds about who I am just to make sure this is a good fit to work together. Look, simply put, how I like to say it is I'm a fast cash for land guy, All right, I'm an investor. At the end of the day, I'm looking to make money on the properties I acquire, just to be direct with you. And my goal is to buy your property for that reason. And if that's not what you're looking for, I definitely want to be respectful of your time. But that's a little bit about what I do. Are you interested in that? Would you like to move forward and hear an offer? And then they're either going to say something like, well, if it's not going to be market value, I don't want to hear it. Right? And if that's the case, that's great. That's so good. Thank you so much for saving me 20 minutes of my life. I don't have to talk to you anymore. That's not going to be my, like, if they're like, no, we want full market value, then just say, hey, look, no problem. That's probably not the best fit for me. I'll follow up with an email with an offer just in case. Likely not going to be what you're looking for though. If it is, feel free to reach back out, right? Boom, call done, email off an offer, and then move on with your day. All right. But again, think about this through the lens of you want your prospect to give you permission to pitch. Okay. So if you say, hey, Frank, I'm a fast cash for land guy. Generally what I do is I buy properties below market value, and then we take the time, energy, and effort to take them to market and sell them. I'm sure you're familiar as a landowner, like land isn't always that easy to sell. The value I bring here is I'm going to give you quick cash, get it off your hands, right? And you'll work your script. You can see mine change from 1 to 2, but the goal is you want them to understand that they're not getting a full market offer, okay? And sometimes they'll say, again, like I said, no, we're not interested in that, but oftentimes they'll say, okay, yeah, that's kind of what I figured. Thanks for telling me, you know, how's this work, right? Or they'll pivot in and they'll start asking questions. Now you've got permission to pitch, all right? Now you've got permission to pitch. So you've successfully completed phase 1, the open of the call. All right, now we're in phase 2, the seeding phase, all right? Through what you did before this, the previous video you watched about the facts check, you need to just come up with a couple pointed questions about the property, okay? The access, the sloping, the utilities, the foliage, the layout, the county, the taxes. I mean, yeah, I could go on for days, right? You need to come up with 3 to 5 pointed questions that show you did your research. Okay, because again, a lot of these people have talked to rookies. They may have had a contract in their hand that didn't get executed because someone didn't do their research. When they see that you're prepared, you're asking the right questions, again, they're going to be seated with trust. They're going to trust you. And oftentimes, a little hack here is they're not going to know the answers to most of these questions. And what does that do? When you ask 3 to 5 very pointed, like real questions about land they own, and they can't answer any of them, what's that gonna, like, what are they gonna think, right? Hopefully you're thinking that they're gonna be like, oh, well, I actually don't know much about this property, or I don't know as much as I thought I did, or man, I just wanna get this dang thing off my hands. I don't know a damn thing about it, right? That's the feeling we're trying to seed in here. So there's no specific questions or anything I'm gonna give you. It's gonna be very specific to the property. You wanna show in this section that you've done your homework, you've looked at it, and you got a couple quick questions. And if you have map right and you go through our little check, you can easily come up with a few questions there, okay? Now, in section 2, you gotta remember who you're talking to, right? If you're talking to sweet Grandma Betty, you're gonna use longer form sentences, more inflection in your voice, talk a little slower, crack some more jokes, whatever it is, right? If you're talking to Frank, you're gonna get right to it. Frank's gonna say, yeah, sure, like what's, you know, after you tell them who you are, they're gonna say, yeah, sure, okay, like what's going on? Tell me what you got, right? And you're gonna say, hey, yeah, sure, looked at your property, got a few quick questions for you, is that okay? Frank's gonna say, sure. You get right into it, all right? No sweet, no inflection in your voice. All right, I'm looking at it here in the map. I don't see a road to it, Frank. Does it have access? Does it have easements? Like, do you know much about that? Boom, direct, to the point, okay? That's who you're talking about. That's the tone you want to take. If you're talking to sweet Grandma Betty, all right, Betty, well, look, I've got this property open here, and I'm just a little concerned, to be honest with you. I don't see a road up to it. You know, do you know if there's an easement there? Do you know how they platted this property back in the day? You know, how'd you acquire it? It's going to be a different tone, right? So the really important thing when you're asking questions, remember who you're talking to. If it's Frank or someone on that side of the spectrum, straight to it, get to it. If it's Betty or somebody else, be a little more empathetic, more inflection in your voice. All right, and finally, the close, pivot to close, make your offer, okay? Guys, very simple, don't overthink this, okay? The simplest tactic in sales is to shut the H up. Shut the heck up, shut the F up, okay? Be quiet. Once you have built trust, you've asked questions, you pivot over and you say, Frank, I think I got everything I need. You're gonna be in 2 situations. You're either gonna know the price or you're gonna need to go do some more homework, okay? Any way you slice it, you need to give them numbers on the phone or they're gonna feel like you wasted their time. The only reason they're entertaining this whole thing, because in the end of the day, they want to know how much money can this person give me for my property, all right? And if you don't at least scratch that itch on the first call, they're going to be pretty upset, all right? Or maybe they're not upset visually, but in their mind, they're like, well, that was a waste of my time, right? And you never want someone thinking that about you. All right, so let me give you an example, all right? First off, I know the price, all right? Hey, Frank, thanks so much for answering all the questions. Look, let me be transparent with you. I've bought and sold a lot of land out here, okay? Yours isn't like super crazy. It's the average type of property. I'm very confident in our prices. And with that being said, I know that our offer for this property would be X, okay? Whenever you create your card or whenever you go through your due diligence for your property, you need to come out with a range of prices. Always start on the low end of the range, okay? Even if you're nervous, if you don't like being on the phone, whatever, you just gotta get comfortable making low offers, all right? You just gotta get comfortable with it. And you'll be surprised at how many people will say yes to your low offer. Or maybe your offer price is 10 to 15,000 and you say 10 and they say no, and you say, what's your counter offer? And they say 12 and you're like, oh, perfect. That's like right where I wanted it, right? Always start low because land values are speculative. You wanna set the baseline. You wanna seem confident, you wanna know what you're talking about, you wanna set a low baseline. All right, so go in low. That's my first tip. Okay, so you've made your offer. What did I say at the beginning? Be quiet. Don't say anything. It may be quiet for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. If you're talking to a good salesperson, they may not, y'all may be on a quiet off for 2 minutes and you need to win it, okay? Because the person who speaks first normally loses. Read it in any sales book. The person who acts first, the person who speaks first normally loses, all right? So what you want to do is you want to get them to respond. Again, they may say no. Here's how I handle a no, or that's too low, all right, with this line. All right, Frank, yeah, I understand. Look, I think we're a good fit to work together, all right? We kind of established that. I really want to get this deal done with you. If you do, what's the number? How do we make this happen? That's what I would say, right? I'd say the same thing to Betty if they say no. And then generally it's going to open up the floor for negotiation, and that's when you're gonna figure out if your prices will work, okay? So that's situation one, you do know the price. Here's situation two, you do not know the price, all right? You need to do more due diligence, that's gonna affect how much you're gonna offer. You need to have a range, okay? And especially if there's some unchecked items, you need to have a low range, all right? So here's how I handle that with Frank. All right, Frank, well, looks like I got a little more homework that I need to do on this. But look, hey, in the interest of everyone's time, I don't want to waste yours. You don't want to waste mine. At the end of the day, this is business, right? This is numbers. And I've bought and sold a lot of land in this area. I'm very confident in the pricing, and regardless of the outcome of X, Y, and Z, if we do this deal together, I know I'm going to be in the range of 7 to 10,000. I don't want to waste your time. You don't want to waste mine. Do you think we're in the ballpark here? Quiet, okay? You think we're in the ballpark? You think we can make that work? Quiet. And again, they're going to think about it and say, yeah, we might be able to make it work in there, or they'll be able to, or they'll say, no, I don't think so, it's too low. And then you hit them with that line I just gave you. Again, because y'all talked about, you told them what you did. You say, I feel like I feel like we're a good fit to work together. I'd love to get this deal done. What does it take? Right? And then again, let them come back to you and give them a number. All right, so look, sales is a long topic. We could go on forever. I hope this short, medium video helps get you comfortable. You may want to watch this twice. You may want to slow it down. You may want to speed it up, whatever you do. I definitely encourage you to download the sales script. We pulled all the information out of my brain, the things we say, the things my team says, put it in there so you got some kind of baseline to work off of. But as we close, remember, there's just a few main things you need to do in the call, okay? First off, you're looking for motivation. That's the whole point of this. I tell everybody on my acquisitions team, you're looking for motivation. If how they communicate to you, the tone they give, the way they answer the questions, the words they say to you indicate that they're just wasting your time, or they want full market value, or they're in between, they don't know, generally not a motivated person, okay? Your whole goal here is to find motivation. That's the whole point of this call, right? It's structured so that they feel good, but at the end of the day, you want to find motivation. And you give them a bunch of checks and stops along the way to see if they're motivated, right? And the other thing I would say is the big takeaway is tone match, tone match, tone match, okay? I've listened to way too many calls from my team and from my clients where really they're just trying to follow a script. They're trying to follow something that they've written out. And at the end of the day, really what they did is they weren't genuine and they weren't matching the tone of the person on the other side of the call. So that's my advice to you is be genuine, Be genuinely inquisitive. If you don't know, if you're brand new, you can say that. Look, I'm new, or I'm looking at this deal. I don't know, Frank. Tell me what's going on with the access. Why does this thing show so much slope? When was the last time you went to the property? Show them you're genuine, right? That's going to create that kind of emotional connection, and they're going to have a lot more likelihood of working with you. All right. Hey, hope this video helps. If there's anything we can do, feel free to leave us a comment, ask us a question. Thanks for watching. Hopefully this gives you some confidence on your first or next sales call, and we'll see you in the next video.